coming up.
It's pretty dangerous. If I double the money supply by printing a bunch of money to give to someone to pursue some aim that I agree with, now the price doubles again. So I've increased the price of everything by a factor of 8.
Given the current global economic crisis we're all living through, it's safe to say that something is broken with our traditional models of government and economics. Today's guest is not shy about calling out strange policies surrounding the economy that, in his views, is not a great way to deal with weakened economy. One of these policies is called ESG. This policy refers to a set of standards for a company's behavior used by socially conscious investors to screen potential investments. It basically dictates what is good and what is bad. For example, using nuclear power is bad, and using solar power is good. According to Saylor, this policy can negatively impact the instruments, or products and services, which the affected environment is being targeted. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more similar videos. Let's not wait and watch more to understand Saylor's opinion on this particular policy.
It's when I decide that say nuclear power is bad, but solar power is good, but natural gas is bad, but wind power is good. When you start to decide and dictate how people will generate energy, right? Or when I decide you can't use fertilizer in order to grow food.
Was that also a green decision?
Yeah, because fertilizers have phosphates in them, and they decide the phosphates are bad for the water, and so they didn't want people to not use them. So as the government starts to implement policies about how you will or will not produce food, how you will or will not produce energy or heat, what happens is ultimately they drive up the price of food, right? If you don't use fertilizer, then your crop yields get cut in half. If your crop yields get cut in half, food price doubles. If you're not allowed to use gasoline and you have to use a electric powered car, the cost of the car doubles. Crop prices, your food price doubles again. Now it's 4x as much. If I double the money supply by printing a bunch of money to give to someone to pursue some aim that I agree with, now the price doubles again. So I've increased the price of everything by a factor of 8.
As Saylor pointed out, this strict policy to control the use and reputation of certain products or instruments is only going to bump the prices of the goods more, and tying that with inflation and money printing, the rise of prices is becoming a major problem. The question is, how much of a problem it is for the US and other countries. Let's see what Saylor has to say.
It's pretty dangerous. We're the richest country in the world, though. So the U.S. Has the world's reserve currency. So if you think about the way the economy worked 24 months ago, the countries like countries like Russia and the like export $1 trillion worth of raw materials, like energy and metals and the like. And then countries like China export $1 trillion worth of products and services. And we pay for them by sending back $2 trillion worth of dollars. So what we do is we export $2 trillion worth of inflation, and they export $2 trillion worth of products and services and energy, because we run the banking system of the world, right? The banking network plus the US dollar is the world reserve currency.
Really fast, I need to ask because I don't understand. So when we send them the $2 trillion, we are creating that money in order to make those purchases?
Yeah.
So we're not just taking money that we've already saved?
Let's say there's $50 trillion circulating around the world, and we just print $2 trillion more. Now there's $52 trillion. We've inflated the currency supply by 4%. We've devalued everything by 4%. And we've traded $2 trillion worth of US dollars for $2 trillion worth of coal or oil or products or iPhones or labor or something, right? And that's the way it works, right? And the reason it works, though, what is the real export the US provides? Financial, economic security. Like, for example, if you live in Mexico or you live in Argentina and you've got $1 million, are you going to save it in the peso? You're going to save it in the dollar, right? How are you going to save your money? If you export $100 billion of oil from the Middle East and we give you back $100 billion in dollars, what are you going to do with the $100 billion? You buy T-bills with it. So you buy sovereign debt that yields 2% interest. And so now if you hold $100 billion worth of sovereign debt, now if I double the money supply, it's worth half that much, right? So in essence, if I'm increasing the supply of dollars by 7% a year, and if you're holding $100 billion of my debt, then you're paying $7 billion a year to hold the debt. So I'm charging you $7 billion for the privilege of giving you a bank to put your $100 billion in. It's a negative interest rate, right? Negative real yield. If you do it 10 years in a row, I take $70 billion from you.
Whoa.
But the question is, what else are you going to do? You're going to put it in gold? If you have $1 billion, what are you going to put it in? Well, the Russians put it in gold. We just seized the gold. You're going to buy a yacht with it? We might take the yacht. You're going to buy land with it? Whose land? Land in another country? I already own all the land in my own country, right? So the U.S. primary export is inflation. That's what we do. And it's a good situation, right? We're running the banking system and we're printing more money. That our primary export is monetary, call it monetary technology in the form of the US dollar. It's the most desired instrument. And what we trade for it is we get energy or we get products or services in return for exporting the dollar. Right? Right now we're on this cusp because we're exporting too many dollars. And that causes the collapse of other countries' currencies. And when their currencies collapse, their governments collapse. So the U.S. won't collapse. The first countries to collapse will be Zimbabwe, Lebanon, Syria, right? Iraq, Iran, right? Not any country, not Iran, but Afghanistan, Iraq, South America, all throughout, they're all being destabilized. Sri Lanka. So what you have is this rippling wave of destabilizations in the developing world. You have a weakening in the developed world. As their currencies weaken, they're going to suffer from inflation. If we have inflation that's 8% in the US dollar, and if the Japanese yen weakens 24% against the US dollar in 1 year, and if the Japanese have to buy oil priced in dollars, what's their inflation rate going to be? Now, right now, the government, the official figures will tell you it's low, and you can do that as long as you define the metric. But there's only so long you can do it at the point where nobody can actually afford to buy gasoline or buy energy, and their cars don't run, and they can't heat their home. Right, then you can no longer persuade the public that there is no inflation problem. Then you have a problem, and now the question is how you're going to deal with it.
And that's it for today. Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments section down below, whether this policy is doing more bad than good for our economy. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. This was Investalence, and we will see you in the next video.